So think of this like version 2 of this floor plan. They came out with something that was very cool, but then you folks had some really good input and they went, you know what? You got a point. Let's do that. Hey everybody, Josh RV Nerd of Bish's RV down here in the Brinkley RV Dream Room. This is where all the new cool stuff comes to pass, and I get a chance to put my hands on it here, and this should be, as far as I know, about the first time anyone has broadcast this out, so if you appreciate how we get down here and get you the first look at stuff, hit that subscribe button, and we'll keep it coming. Let's not mince words on this floor plan. What they basically did here is they took the previously existing Brinkley Model 3400 and gave it a Missy Elliott treatment. They rolled it over, flipped it, and reversed it, essentially, and what they've done is they've taken a really cool like luxury fifth wheel with a rear patio wet bar that is not a toy hauler and flipped around the living room and gave it all the windows on the campside of the RV, which is basically what all of your feedback said when the 3400 first came out. Now, I can't say for certain. There's nothing in the book right now that says that this is replacing the 3400. I would be shocked if that isn't what ends up happening, but currently, we have two models that are kind of the same floor plan, just flip-flopped around the living room and the kitchen. That doesn't really offend me. I don't care which way this one's laid out. I love this floor plan. And if you look at this, you're like, I have no use for the patio. Take a look at the 3300 Brinkley. It's the same thing with no patio. This one adds a little bit of extra length, weight, and cost, but gets you this awesome 3 seasons kind of patio space on the back with a cool, what I'm going to call one-touch power weather wall. Kind of like, think of like a garage screen door, but not made out of screen material. So on a light drizzly day or on a windy day, you can keep stuff from blowing into the RV. They also made the rear fridge 12 volt and accessible in transit, which I think is very cool. And oh my gosh, there's so many things to hit on this RV, like the solar package, the weather package, the upgraded pin box and suspension, the holding tank heaters, the Asdel, the all kinds of stuff. So if you've never seen a Brinkley video before, buckle up, grab some popcorn. This is going to run a little bit longer than most. And if you have seen a Brinkley RV video before, use this as a way to see what is new and updated on the previous content that we've put out for you. All right, so we have a lot of ground to cover. I think what I'm going to do is kind of segment this by like kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom, then maybe the rear patio space, then we'll step outside. But keep in mind, I like to chapter mark these videos so you can always bounce around to the section that most interests you. The decor here, some folks love it. Some folks don't. It's a very subjective thing. The criticism is that sometimes it just feels a little bit like a cold dentist office. I think that's because it's not yet decorated. This is the kind of decor that if you give it like a couple pillows or blankets to kind of give it some accents or color, it comes to life very, very quickly. Now, what they did here is straight across from the theater seat, you either have this kind of extended kitchen bar and the breeze through windows. The airflow in this can be pretty awesome. Or you have that jumbotron of a smart TV, the push of a button away that pops right up when you want it. But sometimes you just don't always, want to watch TV. My wife and I, more and more, are just turning the TV off and just like sitting out on the porch. I don't know, maybe I'm growing up and enjoying the simplicities of life. The little bench, dining table, multi-function widget right here can come into play a number of different ways in this RV, but you can also just take it out of the camper. Nothing says you necessarily have to use it there. And what I want to do is just kind of give you a look around from the view of the theater seat. I figure this is kind of the RV equivalent of looking at something from the driver's seat. If you are sitting here, which is probably one of the more primary seats, this is kind of what she's going to look like for you. Now, sometimes when I sit down like this, it helps me remember to look for things like power outlets under the overhead kitchen cabinet. So hopefully I don't forget by the time we get back there. While we're looking up here, let me go ahead and slowly work my way out of this theater seat. Couple things. First of all, you got that rain sensing XL Max Air vent fan up there. You might also notice they don't hide errors in construction with things like crown molding. Crown molding looks really cool in a lot of RVs, and sometimes it is decorative, but a lot of times it's actually there to cover errors and defects in construction. Brinkley doesn't do that. They visually have to get it right, is the difference here. Now, the air conditioner, this is an 18,000 BTU Furrion Chill Cube. This air conditioner basically is dedicated exclusively to this kitchen living room area. One of the things that I like about it, it's more powerful, but also it runs a little more quietly. When you crank it up to full tilt, you could probably hear it, yeah. But it's one of the very few variable output compressor systems in the RV air conditioning industry, essentially. So what that means is that once it hits your desired temperature, instead of just shutting off and then cycling again when the RV gets too hot, it will go into a low output maintenance kind of blower system so that it's giving you the air that you need when you need it effectively. Now, I want to make a very quick note to mention that this buckskin colored sofa, my camera just struggles with this thing badly. Like, if you watch this footage, it's going to do the Technicolor Dreamcoat Amazing shift on you a couple times, and I highly recommend seeing it in person to kind of form your own opinions. But basically, this is the whole reason this floor plan exists. Campside window coverage. And I don't ever like to get rid of storage, but considering the location of the windows on the campside of the RV, there actually is a part of me, I feel guilty about saying this. I sort of wish that overhead cabinet wasn't there to give me bigger windows over on the focus side of my RV. If this slide was still on the driver's side, I'd feel totally different about it. But if I'm going to maximize windows, I kind of want to maximize windows. But that's my 2 cents. I would be very curious. Are you team windows or team cabinets? I don't know. Leaving a little note there. I thought they had changed this. This might be an old stock proto sofa where it still has the wireless charge pad in the middle. In the little Brinkley accessory shop on their website, there's an insert you can put in that black space to turn it into a 2-cup holder. I thought they were using a sofa, though, that already had a cup holder built into it. So perhaps I'm mistaken. I also want to point out that they do actually include a privacy shade in their entry door. And I didn't have a plan when I walked into this RV. I didn't quite mean to get myself over in this angle and this perspective at this time, but hey, here we are. So what do we want to talk about? How about solid surface countertops throughout the RV? Not just the kitchen, but also when you get up to the bathroom. The thing is, when you look at this, what you don't realize is how much more kitchen is in this RV, how much more usable, functional counter space is in this RV. The folks who were the early adopters of the 3400 and the 3300 Brinkley, very, very similar floor plan to this essentially. The 3300 is literally the same RV, just with no patio, so kind of keep that in mind. They, a couple of them actually had upgraded from a previous 3100 Brinkley Model Z, and they thought, oh, I'm just changing my floor plan. What they found is that they doubled their storage capacity, and this thing has close to 3,000 pounds of available cargo. That doesn't suck. That is not a bad cargo capacity by any stretch of the imagination. But now that we've kind of seen everything, let's dive one layer deeper here, shall we? Even though we're mostly a couples-focused RV, sometimes you might have a guest over, and whether it's a grandkid or maybe you had a friend over, and maybe some drinks came out, and maybe they just shouldn't drive home. It at least gives you some kind of backup plan, you know. Have fun, but be responsible about it. Now, working our way up here, the control panel, they kind of like your controls for your power vent fan, your dimmer lighting. You do have a smart command system. You can Bluetooth all the slides and lights and everything to your phone, but you don't necessarily have to. And if I get this out of the way right here, I'm at kind of a funny angle to show it, but I think you get the idea that from floor to ceiling in this hallway, it's storage space. And having a coat closet, a place for some jackets right by the door, easy access to all of my fuses, especially when the slides are closed. That is the kind of smart content that I'm always searching for. Now, they go with those kind of floating style steps right there, which can act as a little bit of a flip-flop shop shoe garage as well, depending on what you want to do. Now, when we start going through this RV, pay attention to the windows. Right now, like, you might notice that there's a draw shade from the bottom and the top. That means that that window opens for airflow. If it has a shade only from the top, that means that it does not open for airflow. It's just there for for viewing, essentially. Like you'll see that over on the slide sides. So when you see a window like the one behind the televator with that bottom up shade, that opens for airflow. The ones without that do not. Just help you learn how to parse and discern what you've seen on camera here. So the hidden hinges have been in the industry for a while. Pardon me if I'm swallowing a lot. My throat is like perpetually dry, and I feel like I'm constantly on the edge of losing my voice over here. I don't know what is going on. I've just maybe been recording a lot of videos lately, and it's starting to take a toll on me. I want to get you up close to the drawers here for a couple reasons. First of all, when I have them open like this, it makes it easier to see how many are there, but you don't necessarily realize how big and how deep these things are. This floor plan has a stupid amount of storage. Brinkley has really been leading the way on the dovetailed drawer construction in the towable RV industry. You're starting to see more kind of luxury fifth wheel brands tap into that. Did you notice that was soft close there as well? Just another extra handy, nice little feature that they've included on these. That is a little bit bigger oven than you typically find in most campers. And again, just every little nook and cranny they open things up. Now over here, they intentionally don't build drawers all the way down. The kitchen looks very symmetrical standing. It's slightly asymmetrical there in the fact that it doesn't have drawers on the bottom left, but that is because that allows you to load bigger, heavier items in that space. Now, working our way up here, what's nice about this, you might have noticed not only carpetless, but opposing floor flush super slides. So you can really like use this whole kitchen space. All this storage, if I get you down here slowly, I don't like to move the camera quickly. I don't want to make you motion sick, but if I get you down here, you might notice that like you don't have to do that little toe stubber maneuver. You don't have to worry about, something causing you to have to lean forward extra far just to reach things in the kitchen. It's just simpler, easier, more organic. Now, you're probably going to need a step stool to get to that upper storage right there. But that's just a big chunk of extra space. And essentially, they had room above the pantry and above the refrigerator, and they didn't want any of that space to go to waste. It's very difficult to show how big this is on camera. This is one of those things that, once again, kind of like the furniture, you need to sort of see it in person, and then you kind of go, oh, wow, yeah, okay, I get it. Now, moving over here to the right first on the pantry, couple things. This is all adjustable and or removable shelving. You might see the power outlet back there. If you want to turn it into a little appliance station, you could. Some viewers recently on a different video brought up a really good point. A lot of times Brinkley has this staged with a little coffee maker in there. And someone said, yeah, but I'd love to see someone actually try to fill the water in that, in that covered closet space. And maybe it's not for a coffee maker. I don't know. It's just kind of there for display. But I think that's a fair point. The way that things are represented is kind of what you're expecting. Now, I grabbed from the kitchen a couple utensils here, once again, just to help showcase how big that overhead space is there, because that is a huge amount of storage. Now, backing up a little bit, we're going to kind of moonwalk our way backwards across the island. First of all, up top here, just general bonus drawer. Big drawer. This could actually be really good for like big spatulas and stuff like that. This paper towel roller can remove out of here. So if you want to take it over to the dining table, to the picnic table, set it up on the island, you can. And I'm happy if a manufacturer even gives us space for a wastebasket, let alone includes one, let alone includes a second one. So yeah, I'm kind of a happy nerd about how the island of this is all designed. It makes so much functional sense. Now, once again, to kind of help drive home how deep these are, I did want to fully extend at least one of those, but also not just the dovetailing, anywhere that something is going to bump into something else, whether it's on the backs of the drawers or on the face of a cabinet or something. If two things would touch, Brinkley always puts those little rubber bumpers so that you just don't end up with scuffs and scars all over everything. And the thing is, I think the kitchen of this RV is actually one of its greatest assets, but it's a very difficult space to effectively show you on camera. You really need to see this floor plan in person. Now over here, Earlier, I had this in a little bit of an L shape. Now I've got it in more of a split dining bar instead of like a campsite full facing L-shaped dining bar. But what if you're gonna have some friends over? Well, that's kind of where a couple things come into play. That table can obviously extend a great deal, and it extends far enough that 4 adults actually can legitimately fit there with elbow room. Now, adults come in different shapes and sizes. It's very possible that there are 4 adults that may not comfortably fit at this space. And I'm not trying to shame anybody. I am about 60 pounds over what I should necessarily be. I'm just trying to be realistic about the fact that some of us are a little more American sized, but it can do more than just be a guest dining space. If you've got one or two laptop warriors or you're doing some serious work from the road, this can extend in a way that could create space for up to, like, you could have two multi-monitor setups going right here. And I know that for a fact because some of the Brinkley owners have put pictures up of them doing exactly that. But you can orientate it any way you like. And there are multiple sets of power outlets down there so that you don't necessarily always have to have like a power strip with 400 million billion different things plugged into it. And when it's open, it definitely can eat up a lot of floor space, for sure. You're probably only going to open it when you need to, but I always forget to showcase the fact it still has that handy utensil drawer right here in basically your primary dining space. It's just really smart, extra little details. Some people have expressed that they don't like that dine-esque arrangement. Brinkley does not offer the more traditional dining setup anymore, to my knowledge, like they used to. If you watch some of my older videos, that's just no longer offered. I'm always kind of curious why people dislike that system, because I feel like it can only do everything a traditional dinette did. Maybe just because it's new and it's unfamiliar. Maybe there's an aspect of it I haven't considered, but I'm always open to feedback on that. I'm not trying to argue. I'm looking to learn. This floor plan does have one thing I don't personally care for, and it is just my personal opinion. It's a dual entry bed and bathroom. Whenever you take one of the walls to the bathroom and open it up like this, it is kind of neat for the flow. It's not that it's without benefit, certainly, but to me, it just doesn't feel like the best use of space. I feel like this wall could have been used for something else. Now, a couple things. First of all, this is so exceptionally fluffy friendly in this bathroom. And you might notice how it also has a little floating butt napkin roller, basically, so you can bring those where you want them, but it magnetizes in place. Now, some people have asked, why is there this big thing under the toilet? So if you notice, first of all, that's actually a heat vent. So they're keeping the venting out of the floor. Secondly, the pass-through compartment in the basement is directly below this space, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't have any pipes going through the pass-through. So that funny little box is not a toilet riser. The toilet does not sit any higher than it otherwise would have. That funny box is there to help hide some plumbing so that it can bend and not go through the basement pass-through compartment. That's what it's really doing right there. Little easy things to miss, like sometimes people are like, where's the water heater controls? Like they kind of mask everything, hide it away. And it doesn't always have to be flashy or fancy. Sometimes just a little hook to hang a towel when you're done with it is all you need. And the XL Fajita Friday fume fighting fart fans are still factory standard. They actually just have a one-touch button, just like the thing in the kitchen. Now, when we are, take a look at the left side of the screen, notice how much headroom is above me when I'm standing in that shower. They have a 79.5-inch shower floor to shower ceiling clearance. They have one of the tallest showers out there. Maybe not necessarily the tallest, but man, darn close. It's a one-piece fiberglass molded shower, which sees very little in the way of warranty claims, but they don't have a traditional skylight. They give you that, what kind of looks like used to be a skylight, to give you a little extra headroom if you're super duper tall, but they do include some lighting so you can see what you're doing. Now, I apologize for the monstrosity horror that you are about to see, this eldritch horror beast in front of you right now. With this gigantic mega mirror, there is just no way to avoid it. Now, I kind of wish it was more of a funhouse mirror, so it made me look a little slimmer, you know. But the extra 60 pounds that I'm carrying are not doing me any favors. I do like the backlighting around it. I do also want to point out solid surface counters here in the bathroom. A lot of manufacturers will stop doing that once we hit this space. Another thing a lot of manufacturers will do, like in the kitchen, you're like, oh, self-closed drawers, that's so nice. They, again, they do things one way and they do it all the way and they do it every time. Now, real quick, they try their best to not have floor ducted heating vents in the bedroom. You see that one black square down there? That's the only floor ducted heat vent in this RV, essentially. There was not a cabinet that they could try to hide that stuff in. Before I forget, this actually does have basically a click in place true pocket door over there so that you can make sure you keep that bedroom privatized. I think the way a lot of people would prefer. Now, really, really cool thing, standard second air. And this air conditioner only provides air to the bedroom and bathroom. It also has a heat pump included on it, which is something very few people are even aware of. So that's basically a bedroom fireplace that will pump heating through those vents. Not exactly. I'm not trying to over promise and under deliver, but it will keep this bedroom bathroom space very warm. So effectively, this RV has both an electric and a propane heating system, and you can run them simultaneously, which is nice. RV king bed here, as is very common across the industry. With full storage below, you also see that they've included some motion activated lighting under the bed's sides, so that if you sling your legs over the edge at night, you can see what you're doing. Now, they have done a couple things here. They've added, well, the power outlets have always been there. They've added some ventilation. They've added a couple things to help fight and or control condensation under the mattress. Some brands run into challenges like that, and Brinkley had a couple, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't continue to have that problem. So instead of continuing just to do the same thing that was causing challenges, they did something about it. And I wanted to showcase this. That's like an 8-inch mattress. This is perhaps one of the best factory supplied bed solutions I think I've ever encountered in my entire career. This is perhaps the first mattress I don't know that I would immediately replace. Now, it's very subjective. Everyone has different preferences, but I don't think it sucks. Oh, one other thing I want to point out. You might notice how the wood decking under that easy lift bed sticks out further than the bed base. The bed base is 60 by 80 true queen sized. So if you wanted to, you could trim down that wood decking and turn this king into a queen if you were so inclined. Normally, you have to go to a doctor and have some surgeries to turn a king into a queen. But with this one, it's just as simple as trimming down some wood decking. This is a neat little thing they do. Your closet rod actually has an indirect light beam under it, so you can always see what you're doing over here. And you might have noticed no, central vacuum system on this. They just kind of prep it for a stick vac kind of system here. I really appreciate the fact that they put a thing on this sticker that says use only 1-inch screws. I've actually seen some people trade in RVs who tried to use something like 4-inch lag screws on an RV wall. And if you don't know why that's a problem, some simple math. RV walls are typically only 1.5 to 2 inches thick. So if you put a 4-inch screw through it, imagine what happens. Basically, it's not good. So they're helping you not make that mistake. And I appreciate that consideration. I like the different size dresser drawers here. I think it just helps you pack more effectively, but also just the smart little details. Like a lot of brands, the top of the dresser flips up. I want to keep your eyes on that little picture frame right there, because by making this slide open like a drawer, you don't have to take the stuff off, and even that's still soft close. This is also prepped and ready for a stackable washer dryer. Still to this day, it amazes me. I'll see in like the Brinkley owners and Facebook groups where potential Brinkley owners are talking to existing Brinkley owners, and I'll say, hey, I asked my dealer, could I install a washer dryer? And they said, no, you absolutely can. More brains are starting to finally get the picture. But Brinkley was really the first that said, okay, when the bed slide's closed, if you want to sleep up here, that's not a problem. Just don't do the Hulk Hogan leg drop, and you're gonna be fine essentially. So be reserved if folding laundry aggressively at a travel stop, I guess is what I have to say. Now, your upper deck is absolutely accessible here. That is a slim rack 12-volt powered slide. Downstairs, electric, by the way. Downstairs, we have dual electric over hydraulic rack and pinion slides. The trick with this design, with the location of the refrigerator and everything, you kind of can't get back through the spaces, but there is kind of a couple ways around this that I want to sort of talk about here. And if this is helpful info, maybe drop a little like on the video or just leave me a little note that says, hey, thanks, nerd. First of all, you notice how they use steel backers behind the slide fascia, which is kind of cool. Secondly, these hydraulic slides, one of the nice things about them is they are quiet and they move. Nice. That's actually two nice things, even though I said one nice thing. So not every day you get to see a slide kind of in its natural habitat, as Mr. Sir David Attenborough would say. But that's all it really takes. Now, what's cool is they each have their own individual button. Now, here's the thing to consider. Your quadruple stable step that gets you into this RV, it sticks out further than that big slide we just opened. So theoretically, if you can get to this command panel, you could open that slide. And if you can open that slide, suddenly, like Jasmine and Aladdin, it's a whole new world, and you can get back to things like the refrigerator. But here's kind of a cool factor. You don't necessarily even need to do that because of this entry door right here. Let me slowly spin you around. In transit, you will still have access to this rear 12-volt fridge and a little kitchenette sink. So depending on what you're doing for travel day, if you plan ahead and pack accordingly, you can still have the ability to stop, grab a little bite to eat. Now, another thing they did that's a little bit different over here are actually the steps to get you back up into that little mini rear wet bar kitchenette kind of thing. Most of the time, when you see a setup like this, it would be a fold-up kind of set of stable steps that fold into the living room, the doorway, basically. But take a look at this. These are actually skirt-mounted. You pick up, they fold flat, you slide them in. It's in a lockbox. You can close it, then you can slide them right back out. These are very cool. They're lightweight, they're quick and easy to set up. I think this is going to be something that catches on, and once again, it's basically pretty much a Brinkley first right here. Maybe somebody else used it. I've never necessarily seen it. I think they're pretty new here, but these new Lippert steps, they kind of remind me of like toy hauler steps, but just so much simpler and easier being skirt mounted. They don't flip dirt into the RV or anything like that. Keep an eye out on that. The trick is you can't use those all the time on every single floor plan, because on most floor plans, they would have to go through the I-beam of the chassis, which is obviously very invasive and problematic. And a lot of times there's holding tanks in the way, or they, if an entry door is directly above some wheels, you obviously can't run them through your tires because, physics. Now the trick with this thing here, she's a big girl. You hear 3420 model number. You're thinking, maybe it's 34, 37 feet. No, this is about 42 foot long. That's what some people ask all the time. Why don't more builders put these patio spaces on the back? Because it adds a chunk of weight and a chunk of cost, and not everybody necessarily cares about them. And that's a big risk to take unless you're going to make a dedicated model like this. So that's the what to the, that's the answer to the question that maybe you didn't even ask. I'm not even sure. We have a lot to cover on this thing, so I'm just going to start up front here and work my way around so I don't lose track of stuff, because Brinkley's have far more detail involved versus a lot of brands. First of all, just the general look has been very striking, and I don't think it's too much of a mystery. If you look around the RV industry today, there are a lot of, we'll say, heavily inspired, borderlining, copycat brands that are doing everything they can to kind of look like a Brinkley to sort of give you some of those feels, but the devil is in the details. Like the upgraded Kurt Helix pin box system here, they were pretty much one of the very first to do this. Now a bunch of brands have adopted it. What this is doing is transferring significantly less stress up into the chassis, you know, the frame of the RV, so that you're not stressing the structure as hard. It also smooths your ride and handling. Those are nice things. Down here, this is one of the updates that happened since the Model Z series first came out. They just said, you know what? We're just going to do all hydraulic 6-point leveling gear on these so that we just don't have to worry about it. You know, you might have noticed that sticker back there says generator accessory switch. They don't offer a factory generator, but if you want to throw one in this front compartment, it's perfectly capable of doing that. Up here, this is another update. We have a Victron MPPT 50 amp charge controller. Up on the roof of the RV, you'll find from the factory a single 370 watt panel. You want to pretty much double that? You pretty much can, thanks to that charge controller. The layer right below the fiberglass skin is Azdel. And what's cool about that is it helps avoid so many causes of potential delamination. One of the big areas that delam happens is not even due to leaks, but due to heat expansion and contraction, because fiberglass skin and Luan wood substrates expand and contract at different rates. But Azdel is made out of essentially the same stuff as fiberglass skin. It's fiberglass and polypropylene. It's a slightly different ratio, but it expands and contracts at essentially the same rate, so you don't end up with what's called toad skinning, where you have delamination based on absolutely no leakage in the RV. And I think that if you talk to any adult over age 40, no leakage is something that they definitely prefer on their adventures. I'm just going to let that statement hang out in the air and you draw your own conclusions. Moving up here, sometimes people ask where the propane tanks are located, but what I wanted to show you is you see that little loop welded to the frame right there? That is one heavy-duty example of what I call a drunken uncle leash latch, the dog latch, basically. And it would be located right under this front power awning. And since this model has a slightly extended forward upper deck, you get a little bit bigger front power awning. You might also notice how the awning lights don't have that Morse code ... sort of look. It looks more like a Tron lightsaber. That's called fusion lighting, if I'm not mistaken. And it just, one, it's brighter, and two, it looks cooler, but it's not less expensive. So that's one of those extra things that you're paying for here. You do have a gas grill quick connect down below. You also have a fully enclosed forced air heated underbelly. You notice the indirect lighting up here. And if you have a really eagle eye, look kind of in the upper left corner of the screen right now. One of the things that you're seeing up there is not just only the sewer hose holder tube, but also your skirt-mounted outside speakers, so you are not blowing the neighbors away with your Freedom Rock, brother. Yeah! Instead, you're keeping the volume down at ground level where you can hear it more easily, which is kind of a nice thing, I think. Now, the skirt line. We were right up close to the skirt metal right there. It's what you don't see. Kind of like on the inside, you didn't see a machine gun line of staples and fasteners. On the skirt line of this, you don't see a machine gun line of rivets. It's very hard to locate mechanical fasteners on the inside or outside of Brinkley's. There's a couple, but you got to really look for them. And it just gives it a little bit nicer, cleaner look, you know? I love how I love the graphics package, how it just kind of masks the windows. You don't even consciously realize they're there often from the outside. Now, when I have all the lighting on the inside, it makes it a little bit easier to see. A couple things they did here. I think I mentioned it when we were inside. I can't remember if I did or not. But when the slides are closed, when the rear ramp patio is up and you're in road mode, one of the things that they were very conscious of here is they wanted to make sure there was still enough space that you could squeeze through here. And by changing the hinge direction on that fridge, they made sure that if you are traveling and you need to get to a refrigerator, one, it's 12 volt, so it operates in transit, and two, it's always accessible. Because, again, When the slides close, you're going to pinch off the majority of the kitchen. So it gives you a way around that to maintain reliable fridge access in transit. So if you just want to stop and grab yourself a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper, as they would say on Smokey and the Bandit, or if you, let's say, you need to keep certain medications cold, and you have a literal medical need to have cold storage in transit, this can solve for that. I don't know if you remember this from the 3400 video, but they do a little bit different thing here with their patio rail system. They said, what if we could make this functional? And they include, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm wrong, I hope somebody shouts at me from the magic curtain. They include like this little accessory shelf right here, so that if you want to turn this into a little drink stand or something like that, you have the perfect little place for it. Now, we've kind of looked at the patio space earlier, but as long as we're walking around the outside and we're staring at it, here we go. One of the things that I don't think I showed you, though, was what I am calling the one-touch weather wall, which I don't know why I have to say it like I'm a radio announcer, but for some reason, whenever I say one-touch weather wall, I always act like I'm broadcasting from your local FM station. So they kind of have this pre-programmed into certain stop points, but you just touch the button once and down she comes. Now, we are in a prototype model. Originally, they had, you might notice it's not a screen. It's actually like an enclosure. Hey, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for an extra update. As I mentioned, this little screen vapor wall plastic door thing was in the testing phase, and basically what they found in testing is that the thing sucked. So they're not going to be doing that. They're probably going to have a more traditional like bug screen drop down door or something like that. But this plastic, either clear or shaded door, what they found is that basically when they opened the side door, it was creating a vacuum vortex that was busting this rear plastic thing. And what I appreciate is, even though in theory it sounded really cool and maybe would have helped them sell a couple campers, Brinkley didn't put a knowingly bad product out there on the street and make you have to be the guinea pig. And I think that says a lot about what they're really doing here. The Model Z series of fifth wheels has maintained their factory standard backup observation camera right there. Because, you know, when you're backing up a 42-foot rig, it's really nice to know where the tail end of this thing is, because, man, I don't know. Sometimes I think your ground spotter thinks they can see you from their mirror or from your side mirrors, but yeah, a lot of times where they're standing, you can't see anything and you're just guessing anyway. So not guessing when you have a very expensive 42-foot fifth wheel behind you and not backing into a tree sounds like a good thing to me. Now, because this model has the rear patio, they don't have the opportunity to have the fixed rear mount ladder to get you up to that fully walkable roof. You see that you have the side mount bracket right there. They actually do ship the appropriately sized ladder with it. Normally I have that deployed, but I want to show you kind of this time where it stows, because I don't think I've taken the time to showcase that for you. One of the hitches in this floor plan's giddy-up, which is, it does not have many, is the fact that it is a two-headed sewer monster with a rear kitchen and a full on-the-tail rear-mounted wet bar. They do have to have a separate gray tank back here for this, but you might notice it's actually got a second sewer hose tube. So everything does have like a dedicated place to go, essentially. You don't have to sacrifice any of your cargo area for that sewer stuff. We will, what do we want to hit on here? God bless it, there's always a lot to talk about on these. Let's talk running gear. So I mentioned earlier 6-point hydraulic auto leveling, but we've got the Cooper H-rated radial tires down here with the TCS touring coil suspension. That's, you see those kind of, those arms that drop down, you might be able just to see a little bit of an orange coil spring. Let me get you around the corner over here, and you also see, or orange shock rather, but it does also have coil springs. Those are just painted black. What this is doing is this is kind of like the pin box, drastically reducing the road violence that gets translated up into the frame, giving you better ride and handling. Now you might notice this orangey yellow looking thing every single day on a Facebook group. Somebody asks, what is that? And there's always someone's like, hey, it's a listening device for the government. Oh boy, we love that joke, don't we? To be fair, I often call it an FBI listening device myself, but that is a wireless relay for the factory standard tire pressure monitoring system. So it's, again, another road safety thing. So that's where that ladder stows. Well, I mean, you could put it wherever you want, I suppose, but that skirt-mounted storage box is kind of where this is intended to be stowed. But again, they do ship it with the correct size ladder. A lot of manufacturers prep for ladders, but just don't give you one. They're like, oh, you could go get it yourself. But the problem is, you got to make sure you get the right size. And it seems like nobody's telling you how to do that, you know? I tell you what, this is not a drop frame, but that is a freaking huge front pass-through area. And over here, bunch of things that Brinkley did first that a lot of brands are starting to do now. One of the most commonly, I would say, copycatted features is the electronic dump gate valve system right here. Now, a lot of people ask, yeah, but what if this thing fails? There is a manual override. You have your fuse, your amp reset right here. The other thing I want to do here, Brinkley's been doing this now for a good 3 years. Existing Brinkley owners, what has your experience been with your electronic dump gate valves? If you are watching this, please leave some comments. And from what I see in our service records, it's pretty good. Now, this thing, I call it the Energizer Bunny hose reel because it just keeps going and going and going. Now, I could walk my way all the way to the sidewall of the infinity room, which is saying a lot, but I'm still not, like, there's more hose to go. This is a 65-foot retractable hose. Now I'm going to set this down carefully because I don't want to scar up their floor, trying to respect the space a little bit. It's just cool that it's automatically included. And we were up close and personal on that docking center. Did you notice the brass fittings that they include? There's a lot of talk and oh my gosh, there's so much misinformation out there and fear-mongering when it comes to RV plumbing systems and hookups. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every manufacturer does it the best that they could, because they don't. They genuinely don't. I won't mince words about that. Brinkley is absolutely, once again, multiple levels ahead of so many manufacturers. So they're all pecs on pecs plumbing. They use brass fittings where they can. They don't use flexible hose lines with crimp fittings or anything like that spooks people. This, by the way, is the Slim Rack slide system. And one of the things that Brinkley was one of the first to do is say, yeah, I mean, if you're traveling and you need to sleep overnight, it's cool if you sleep in our beds, even if they're not extended. Most manufacturers still don't offer that assurance from the factory level. Again, those are just kind of some of those Brinkley differences and advantages. Now, sometimes if you're on these Facebook groups, you'll see somebody say, hey, I have Z8174. You might have noticed that number there on the tongue. That relates to the VIN number. It's just kind of, it's just one of those things that just sort of became a thing in the community. Sorry, there's a lot to talk about on these, like, kind of getting a little froggy in the throat, losing my voice here. I have to go get a drink. Anyway, I wanted to give you a couple quick notes on the roof. Please take a moment. If you are more than curious and somewhat serious about purchasing a Brinkley, take a moment to watch one of my Brinkley factory video tours where I, Johnny Cash, walk the production line and show you all sorts of extra under the skin things. One of the major things you can learn from that is how they are doing their roof system very differently. And essentially they're using, the best way I can describe it is diesel pusher level sealants up on the roof. And I won't tell you that any RV has a zero maintenance roof. I don't believe that. If someone ever says something has a lifetime roof warranty and they stop talking, get away from them. That's a snake oil salesperson. And they might not even know it. That might just be the way that they were trained. But essentially, the sealants and gasket system that Brinkley is using up on the roof is pretty much about the best that the towable RV industry has seen today. And I will be shocked if more other luxury level fifth wheels don't start falling in line with that very, very soon. But it's a major thing to learn about, because preventing water intrusion is absolutely like priority number one on RVs. It's like if you do nothing on your RV except take care of the roof, it's like doing no maintenance on your vehicle except changing the oil. It's easily the single most important thing you can learn about and make sure that you're aware of. And Brinkley has eliminated so much of the need to really stress over that mess. So there you go. Let me know what you think, everybody. You know, they, again, just took your advice, and I think that's really funny. That's the Brinkley RV secret. They literally just listen to the audience and give the people what they want. Crazy idea, I know. As I always do, I'll leave you some links in the video description. You can see where we have these available for you, as well as at least MSRP. Typically, in the case of a Brinkley, we're not able to publish our discounted sale price that we offer. Keep in mind, we don't sell for MSRP. We're just not able to publish for anything less than that. And I will also leave you links to a bunch of previous Brinkley videos. But keep in mind, especially in the Model Z series, anything that you see in this video is an update and supersedes stuff that you know, the other units I may not have updated footage for quite yet. So the updated drawer construction versus my 3100 video, for example, like everything on this is always a step forward. That's also another interesting thing with Brinkley. They don't do like hard model year changes like a lot of brands. They are in a cycle of constant improvement. If they think there's something better, why wait to implement that? Just do it now. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're out there shopping around. And if you appreciate all the info, getting you the footage, all the things, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.